So we will be doing, or Meg will be doing a signing afterwards. So, whoa, she's rocking in her chair. So please stick around. The signing will take place in the lobby, so you can follow us out. So I've been able to pick her brain and get all my silly questions out of the way, like what was it like working with Don Johnson and stuff like that. I want to know what kind of person he was. So I have to ask the serious questions now, if that's okay, Meg. And then we'll open it up to the floor, to the audience. So I know it's hard to narrow down a specific experience, but for you, is there anything that sticks out as more memorable about your experience working with John Carpenter on Bailiff? Is there something that kind of sticks out, or what he was like as a director, or?
John's an amazing human being, an amazing man. He is a Renaissance man. I believe that sometimes human beings come in and their path is very clear, or they find their path very easily. And as you know, John's a composer, and he writes his films, and he directs his films, and he puts his name on them, or he chooses not to, you know. And he's very fluid, and he's very gentle, and he has his set is, anyway, the one I worked on, is extraordinarily calm. He gave flowers to me in the little place where they let you change your clothes. There was a little bouquet, and there was a note, and it says, "When it stops being fun, we stop doing it." He really is. I think he's vibrational, and he has a very good, even keel. Working with him was, I don't know, some directors, and well, we all know, I mean, if we're around something that's tense, we can pick up the tension. If, you know, we're tense, our children can pick it up, you know. Animals, especially animals. But everything was always smooth. Took his time, you know. Other times, you know, when you work, and it's not a negative, but, you know, energies can change.
Right.
I just think he's really quite exquisite. I'm a very big fan of his work and his imagination. I was speaking earlier to somebody, and I really feel that John, well, when I see his films, there are layers and layers and layers to each character, really. You know, they're almost, to you, I mean, he can do any genre, and of course he does horror, but the people are so real. Even the ones, even Michael, do you know? I mean, he's so real. I find that I think about, it's real to me, is what I'm saying. I feel for them. And there's something also sort of mythical. The themes that he uses and reuses. There's romance. There's, you know, in the midst of everything, you know, there's extreme vulnerability in every character. There's, you know, I mean, they're incredible stories. They're very intense, and they have all these different levels. And you can follow any character. That's the amazing thing, too. I find I follow them. You know, I'm not aware that I'm doing it, and then at the end I'm going, oh, you know, you read things into it. I remember the first film I think I saw was Bambi, you know, and films are so extraordinary because they're everything that we play with. I mean, I watched black and white television, and then I saw a color movie, and there's Bambi, right? I don't know if you guys have seen it, but, you know, there's a fire, and Daddy appears, and Mother gets killed, and I thought, oh, I could just crawl inside there and I could be Bambi. I could be a little deer. I could be Flower. Do you know? I mean, that's sort of what you feel when you see characters. And they take you somewhere. And John's characters are extraordinary.
Well, you're really good at being bad, but you're also really good at being good. Do you have a preference, as in the character's motivations, do you have a preference for playing evil versus good? on screen.
Is this because of Holly? Is that what you mean, Holly? Because
Right,
Holly?
yeah, and then Evelyn, but then in something like the Osterman Weekend, you're like a really good character. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer to play someone?
No, I don't have a preference.
Okay.
I don't. And I don't think of my characters as, if they're nasty, I don't think of them as nasty.
Because you have to...
Well, no, you have to, well, it's like, how do you play evil?
Right.
You know, I mean, evil can be so subtle, and you might not see it for 10 years. And there it is. It's been, you know, it's been in your presence forever.
Right.
It's a little tricky. But you make the person, or whatever happens, whatever in the moment sometimes. Anything can change. I don't know, some people say my eyes are evil, or whatever, or it can be, and maybe that's something too.
Beautiful, I think is what they mean.
Well, light eyes, I guess, maybe are, but you know, I don't know. I have a brother, and he if I look at him in a certain way, he runs. He's in his 50s now, and I don't know what the look is. I don't know what the look is.
You can't do it on demand.
Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. And then he runs away. So I'm not too sure what it is.
Do you enjoy learning new skills and doing stunts, like in the Austrian Weekend, like using the crossbow?
I loved using the crossbow.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like doing anything athletic or anything new. Yeah, I love it. Way back, you know, in the 60s and 70s, you actually almost got to do your own stunts, and the stunts were done very differently,
A bit
obviously.
more carefree?
Well, no, you really, there was no high tech. You really were going to turn a car in the middle of a road. Do you know what I mean? It was very different. It was dangerous. It always is dangerous, you know, but now they have the wires that drop. But literally, you know, you'd be very, very careful. But I like doing them. I like doing physical things. I do. I'm all for it. Let me try.
You've worked with some really amazing directors over your career. Is there someone that you've always wanted to work with but haven't, you know, had a chance to yet?
I don't think about things in that way. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate the gifts and the talents of a director, but things happen because they're supposed to happen sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I truly feel there isn't. I mean, being involved in this industry or this art or you know, it's totally non-competitive, and sometimes it's very, very random. Do you know? I mean, you have no idea when you might work or when you might walk in, and you have no idea what the part will be like, and then you meet somebody, and not a zillion, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but there are so many wonderful actors, and there's really, now with the you know, wonderfully active independent films being made at last, do you know, I mean, there didn't used to be those. And there's just so much more work and so much creativity going on, you know, in the websites and the webisodes, and so it's very different.
It's much more accessible.
Well, it is, and there's so much talent.
Right.
It's just brilliant. So, but I've never thought of it like that. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah.
It's, I mean, I could say I'd love to do an O'Neill play.
Right, okay.
I could say I would have loved to have worked with Jason Robards.
Right.
You know, something like that. But yeah, I don't really think of it that way.
Well, I'm
Try to be in the now.
I'm going to stop taking up all your time, and we can get to the audience portion. I know that you guys have some good questions out there.
Don't worry if you don't. We can all just hum.
All right, Hal, I see your hand raised up here.
What are you doing lately, Meg?
Lately? Well, I just had a lovely pizza crust.
I did offer her the pizza, but
And some iced tea. It was wonderful. I did a film, I think it was in 2011. The end of 2011? 2012? Yeah, with Mr. Rob Zombie.
Lords of Salem.
Lords of Salem. And woohoo! Really, one great big woohoo, Aiden. I don't know what to say. What's your name?
Hal.
Hal, I can't tell you. It was like living in a labyrinth. It really, I mean, talk about, it's similar to Mr. Carpenter. I mean, you know, musician, showman, gentleman. He allows so much space. I don't know if anybody understands that. It's sort of like walking into a home where, you know, there's a lot of children and mom and dad, and nobody gets in your way. Nobody jumps you. You know what I mean? You know, it's you're living in this environment, or you're existing in this environment where there's so much creativity. Everybody is doing what they're doing, and it really was extraordinary. It was extraordinary working, and he's so collaborative and so supportive. It takes place in two different times, 1692 briefly, and that's where I am, and then present day. But it's an extraordinary film. I saw it. It's actually so brilliant. And I felt like I was going back into this labyrinth. I won't spoil any of it. It's, well, I want to see it again and again and again and again and again. It's a new, new, what's new mean? It's what it is, and it's brilliant.
I've heard your performance is amazing from Chris. He said it was phenomenal and raw, and so I can't wait to see it. I think 2 more weeks, maybe? You have to wait until it comes out?
I don't know.
keep
Not normal. I don't keep up with things. I think somebody told me the 19th.
19th, okay.
I think.
Yeah, highly
Don't quote me.
I know we have more questions. I do see the young man is holding up a glove. Yes, go ahead.
Is there anything that you're going to be working on? Like, is there anything coming up next?
Not really. Not now. Nope. But everything's coming up roses, right? My grandson loved your bracelets.
Oh, bravo.
This young man makes the most wonderful bracelets. He's so talented. They're woven. I mean, they're just brilliant. Can't describe them. Yes, Dad has one on. See the young man in the front row. Order now.
Chris?
What's your phone number?
You look like you're in extraordinarily good shape. Are you doing something in particular? Are you
I walk my dogs 8 miles a day.
8 miles?
Yeah, I do. I have a very active dog whose name is Prada. I call her Pie, or Poddy. But no, if you're speaking of my arms, they're a gift from my pop. I've got a body like my dad. He had muscle groups. I was born with them too. They change if I do that kind of thing, but there you have it.
John?
What was it like working with Roddy Piper?
What do you think it was like?
I really don't know. I'd like to think he was a complete gentleman and a lot of fun, but I don't know.
He is exactly that. He's a lovely guy. When I met Roddy, I was invited to John's house, and Roddy was there, and we just, we're all just talking, and I'd read the script, and you know, if you could clone the man, I'd ask his wife. No, he is the humblest, the sweetest. He is a brilliant human being, and it was so easy. We know that he's a wrestler and he's famous and he is that charming. But I really feel that John cast it so perfectly, because Roddy is every man, and he comes from I mean, he will thank the Boys Club. He said, the Boys Club changed my life, gave me my entire life. I mean, he's just brilliant. he it was just very easy, very easy. The best thing, not the best thing, but a little perk as a mother. The day that I met Mr. Piper, and I didn't know that I was going to be invited to do the film, but I was a single parent a lot, and my son, I came home and I was making hamburgers for my son, and he likes to wrestle. And as he said, my legs are too long. I do not have the correct body. I'm a good cyclist, but I love wrestling, and I'm just going to keep doing it. I said, good for you. But he came home, and I got my back to him, and I'm being mom, and I said, how was your day? And he says, my day's fine. I said, I met the two nicest men today, you know. And I'm sincere. What can I tell you? I'm a goofball, but I'm sincere. And turned around, he's like, and I said, well, no, they really were. And we had this wonderful conversation. I met this lovely guy. He's just had his second daughter. And, Christopher. His name is Christopher. My son goes, Roddy Piper. And I said, yeah. And then he came right into my face and he said, you met Roddy Piper. I said, yes, I did, and he's a lovely man and a very good father, and how do you want your burger? But it was, and it's so sweet because we're all, we may be parents or have parents, but, it was very sweet. It was sweet. It was sweet. That's the only time that ever happened. And I don't blame him. I said, yep, and he's worth all of it.
Big boy. Okay. Yes.
What would you do if you actually found a pair of those sunglasses and the whole real?
And they were real, honey? Well, I'd have to say that John Carpenter, among other things, was really brilliant. No, if I hadn't seen the film, if it was not a story, the truth of the matter is, honey, and I don't mean to be familiar, but one of the things that I've learned is that we see what we want to see. We don't see what is. And so I try to wear those glasses every day. I try to see what is, not what should be, not what I want it to be, not what I think it should be, not judge it. It is. And this is really what the film is about, It's have a comfortable place in your tummy that tells you your truth. Listen and be kind. Because the film is all about everything in reverse, it's about prejudice. I mean, I was speaking to somebody earlier, and I can remember when I was a child, I spent a lot of time in the woods. I thought that was a very real place. And I loved kids, and I liked people very much. But I remember one day a child said something to another child, and I didn't know what it was, because it was like, I went, ooh, something in me went like this. And it was a feeling, it sort of lived, it almost had a voice, And what I realized was this child, and we all do things like this, adults do it, everybody does it, and children can be very cruel. But this child was a special needs child that had been spoken to in this way. And I saw them as special, not special needs. I saw them as someone who knew a whole lot about the world that I didn't. And I realized that it was a judgment, and that it was a criticism, and that it was a tease, and that it was a prejudice, and that's the feelings I was having. And then we grow up and we see how prevalent they are, and they're fear-based, and they're learned. And there's always haves and have-nots, but it depends how we feel about it all and what we give back anyway. So They Live is sort of an extraordinary film, isn't it? But I don't know what I'd do. Hopefully, if I put them on, well, I might be like Roddy and Keith David, because they were first responders. I mean, that's what I loved about them. They knew what John let them, you know what to do, you know when to do it. I've got the two boys that are they're gonna be best friends, they're gonna have the best fight ever, because they love each other and they're trying to do the right thing and they only have each other to take it out on, right? But they're gonna save the day. And it doesn't matter if they get hurt. Hello, first responders. It's a good thing.
We have time for one last question.
Yes. This was my first time ever seeing the movie.
Was it?
Yes. And as a first-time viewer, I'd like to ask, do you have a favorite scene in the movie?
Excuse me, sweetheart?
Do you have a favorite scene in the movie?
Did it look like I did? Did you have one? Just curious. I mean,
Piper, killing everyone in the bank, or at the very end where he killed you?
Yay! Yeah, I know. Lower away. I mean, that's the kind of girl I don't like, you know, but it was fun. I mean, when I had to shoot Keith, oh my God. The quick blocking, and then he said, and then he just said, so when Keith hits the stair, you pull out the gun and you shoot him. I went, what? Right there, just like that? He said, yep, right there, just like that, Meg. Okay, let's go. And I went, okay, sir, I'm going to my mark. But I don't know, my favorite scene. I really loved the fight. I mean, there's so many, there's so many, there are vignettes, really. There's plays within plays within plays play scenes. You know, there are vignettes throughout the film, I think. I might have had the most fun pushing Roddy out the window, or the stunt man, I suppose it was. But it scared me because I'm strong, and when in doubt, I get very strong. No, but I did. The stunt man also dove. You know, they take it, but I really thought I'd hurt him. I really did. It scared me.
I agree with you about the fight between Keith.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's a beautiful thing.
I was only thinking from what I could think off the top of my head, but of course that scene is amazing.
Well, you know what? You probably think about a lot of things. It's a think about movie.
I want to see it.
I know. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you liked it.
Well, you can all come out into the lobby now. If you just let us escape first, that'd be great. And meet Meg. She'll be doing the signing. And I would really like to thank you, Meg. It's been such a pleasure. You've been amazing.
Thank you all so much. Glad you liked the film. Thank you, John Carpenter.
I love being a cult movie nerd now.
I'm really glad we made it out there.
Yeah. Now that I'm finally moving, I feel like I can just have room for the move. Today,